Hello and welcome to ExamRevision, and in today's video we are going to look at markets, and specifically we're going to look at different types of markets. So to do that, our learning intentions are we are going to explain what a market is and differentiate between a physical market and a virtual market. Secondly, we'll differentiate between the different types of market, and there's three of them that we're going to look at. And finally, we're going to explain in detail the different characteristics of each of those markets. So to begin, a market is a place where buyers and sellers interact with the purpose of exchanging goods and services. So it's a place where buyers and sellers interact with the purpose of exchanging goods and services. And a market can be a physical one. It can be a physical market, one which you can walk into. So for example, a supermarket or retail outlets such as Tesco or Lidl. A market can also be a virtual market, and that's where you buy things online. So for example, the online clothes market, shops such as ASOS and Boohoo would be examples of markets that are in the online clothes market. And it's important to note as well that you could have two shops which are quite different, such as H&M and a local clothes shop, but they're both in the same market because they both sell clothes. So they would both be in the clothes market. And there's no difference between either of them being in the same market because they both sell the same thing. And within physical and virtual markets, there are three main types of market. So there is a market called perfect competition, there's one called imperfect competition, and a third called a monopoly, and we will look at each of those. And the first which we will look at is the market of perfect competition. And in this market, there's many sellers of an identical product, right? So there's many people selling the same thing, and the thing that they are selling is identical. And an example of that is that there are lots of farmers who sell carrots. So with regards to all the farmers who are selling carrots, in this market, the goods or services supplied by each seller are pretty much exactly the same. You're not going to have one farmer's carrots who are extremely far superior to another farmer's carrots. By and large, all of their carrots are going to be pretty much the exact same. Within a perfect competition market, each seller wants to make as much profit as possible. All the farmers selling carrots want to make as much money for their carrots as possible. There are no barriers to entering this market. It's quite an easy market to enter into. And lastly, each seller cannot influence the market price because each seller supplies a small part of the market. So, for example, out of all the carrots sold in Ireland, there's no one farmer producing considerably more than the rest. If there was one farmer producing considerably more than the rest, that farmer would probably be able to sell their carrots for a lower price, and that could cut out the rest of the competition. But out of all the carrots sold in Ireland, there is not one farmer producing considerably more than the rest. You will, of course, have some farmers producing more than others, but that amount won't be considerably more than the rest of the competition. So in this way, products which are similar to this, we say that they are in the market of perfect competition. And the next market which we will look at is the market of imperfect competition. And in this market, again, there are many sellers of a similar product. So, for example, if we look at ice cream, you have brands such as Ben & Jerry's, Hagen Daazs and HP, and they all sell ice cream. So by and large, they all sell the same thing. Their product is ice cream. However, their ice creams will differ as they all have different ingredients, different marketing systems, different packaging and different branding. So their ice creams, even though it's the same product, can look quite different. So in this type of market, there are many buyers and sellers. Also, the goods and services in the market are similar. So the actual good which they are selling is similar. In this market, consumers have a wide choice to choose from. We've just named three companies in the ice cream market, but as we know, there's many more. And However, different promotional and branding techniques will be used by the different sellers to make their products stand out. Okay, so there will be different promotional and branding techniques used, which each company will use to try and get their product to stand out from the other. So products which are in this type of market are said to be in the market of imperfect competition. And it's important to note that products which are in the market of imperfect competition are in the most common type of market, right? So the market of imperfect competition is the most common. And the final type of market which we will look at is a monopoly. And in a monopoly market, there's only one seller of a product. So there's only one organization which are selling the product or doing the service. And an example of an organization which has a monopoly was Dublin Bus, right? So Dublin Bus used to have a monopoly. They don't anymore. Some of the bus services in Dublin have been privatised. So there's a second company providing services, bus services in Dublin, but that's only happened in the last year or so. And prior to that, Dublin Bus was an example of a monopoly. So when Dublin Bus was the only seller in that market, a feature of a monopoly would be that sellers may increase prices as they have no competition to drive down. So if you have a monopoly, you can increase prices because you'll have no competition. People will have to buy your product regardless. But also sometimes sellers may have low profits or sometimes no profit at all, because sometimes organizations which are in a monopoly, they're in the monopoly for the public good. So for example, Dublin Bus is a government ran bus company, and so their main aim isn't to make a profit. They are at a monopoly, but Dublin Bus actually operates at a loss every year. And in a monopoly, there are barriers to entry. It's difficult to enter the market. So any products or services which have these characteristics are said to be in the monopoly market. And finally, it's just important to note at the end that with consumers and markets, the relationship between consumers and markets is that when competition exists, so when there is competition between the sellers, that this is good for consumers, because that will drive down the costs and it will increase the quality, because all the companies are competing against one another to get the consumers to buy their product. And to do this, they're probably going to have to decrease the price and increase the quality. However, if there's little or no competition between sellers, that's not good for consumers, as it will increase costs and decrease quality. So it's important to note that about the relationship between consumers and markets. So thanks again for watching this video. As we said, it was looking at markets and the different types of market. And our learning intentions for today were that we are going to be able to explain what a market is and differentiate between a physical market and a virtual market. And we know that a physical market is one which you can walk into, while a virtual market is online. We said we would differentiate between the different types of market, and we've done that. We have looked at the markets of perfect competition, imperfect competition, and a monopoly. And finally, we said we would explain in detail the different characteristics of each market, and we have done that for perfect competition, imperfect competition, and the monopoly. So thanks a million for watching this video. We hope it helped. Please make sure to stay up to date with our social media for more updates, and thanks again for watching.